vision that we had. Faith in Places challenged me, and Claire will say that I keep challenging it, but I realized that I could not bring the environmental message to my community without opportunities for people to progress. That people they weren't quite interested in just knowing how to avert or live or adapt with climate change and to cut their shower off and use the right light bulbs. People wanted to know, like, how do I eat? What does this have to do with paying my utility bills? I need a job, I'm uneducated, or I'm overeducated. So I kind of came through the movement in Chicago through bringing job opportunities and training, which led me ultimately to the conversation about urban agriculture, because that was a new hot button other than weatherization that was happening in the city. And so the first year I mentioned to Claire, oh, we should get some urban gardens. And she said, we don't do that. We don't do direct service, and no, we don't want to go there. So I was new, the new kid, and the last one on the totem pole, so I let it slide, but I knew that I was coming back to it. Because the one thing we all have to do is eat. And the one thing that doesn't happen very well in the communities that I serve is that people don't eat well because they're not, and I don't like the word food desert, and I can talk about that another time, because I think when other people define your neighborhood and you didn't get an opportunity to define it for yourself, that you shouldn't really wear that name, you know. So all I know is that there's food scarcity, and that the kids that work with us could get Flamin' Hots and they couldn't get an apple. Or if there was an apple, because I did go in the corner stores and buy them, it was so old and so mushy, and I didn't know how many hands to touch it, I was afraid to eat it. So we kind of revisited the idea of urban gardening, and there are a lot of players in that. I did not work alone. One of the major players, we called ourselves the Thelma and Louise of grant writing, was Roz Priester and I, because we had an opportunity to write a grant, and we wanted to give, thanks to, despite all the things that's happening in Washington that we're not happy about, what is happening is that money has come down to do things like that. And we were invited to write a grant with the state of Illinois on the issue of urban gardening and employing youth for the summer. And we said, sure. I said, sure. And I am really good at program development. And I really, really get challenged when it's time to write the grant, because I'm a visionary. I just have the idea. And I really wish they wouldn't ask me to put all that on paper and all the technical stuff. But that's where Roz really loves. I mean, that's her thing. So we would get together and I would scream and say words that I can't say in here, with the grant, and she would just ignore me and keep writing. And then I would write the program and she would do the technical. And literally at midnight, her husband, bless his heart, was driving us to a Kinko's to send off the grant. And we got it. And from that grant, we were able to hire an estimate 20 youth. I say 20, we started with 20, we ended with 19, not because one quit, one got another job before our program started. We had 4 site supervisors, 2 of them are here, one from Trinity UCC, Paula is here, and from Lincoln Congregational UCC, Walanda's here. Paula is also a master gardener, and we got to hire another master gardener who literally floated the 4 gardens. And we have 4 congregations involved in that. The 2 UCC, we had St. Barb Episcopal Church, and we had Greater St. Paul AME on the west side. The hottest summer we had in years. And we had young people who came to us with the hat cocked to the side and no belt and the pants hanging down, and girls who wore high heels and skinny jeans to the first day of the garden and looked like, ugh. Get in the dirt? I don't think so. But over the course of 6 or 7 weeks, we saw kids plant even peanuts and see them grow. Herbs. And I would go to the gardens every week and I would pretend to be, Garden 101 for dummies. I knew nothing, and they would teach me. And they were so proud to say, Mrs. Kyle, this is an herb, this is sage. And if you pick it this time of the day and you rub the leaves, you can smell it. And these are kids who, at the beginning, wouldn't even wear our t-shirts because it wasn't cool to have on a Faith in Place t-shirt and walk through the hood. And what I learned from that experience, what I took away is that the church, the faith community, we just need to do our job again. We need to just get out of our Army towers, get back on the street, connect with the least of them, believe and have faith that we can do what we have been called to do, and that is to heal, to be doers of the word, to be an action. I call it faith in action. You know, I was talking to somebody today, they were doing devotion, they said, what's your favorite book? I said, the book of Acts. Action. Do something. You know, I said we need to do it, because when we meet that challenge, I think the rewards are very great. And we had some wonderful rewards. We had young people, we had baby daddies, and we had baby mama, and we had children who were able to have dignity and come home and take care of their children. I had one young man, Kyle Anderson, gave us a bit of trouble, a bit of challenge. He was a new dad, and his mother, the baby, and her had moved to Springfield because he just wasn't able to provide, and probably a whole lot of other dynamics when you are a young parent. And I see him on the bus, and he's with her, and he's holding hands, and it was payday. He had gotten paid, and he said to me, we're going on a date, a real date, downtown, and I'm taking her to eat steak. And then he said, but before you ask, I bought the Pampers, I bought the milk. I mean, you know, and I was so proud, because what I saw was dignity. You know, and again, I thought, that's the faith community. Give people their dignity back. Because the world has stripped it and taken it. And people need a chance to have their dignity back. And we didn't know when we started the garden program that there would be a Kyle Anderson, that we didn't know that there would be young people who would come early and stay late and never miss, and would plan extra and would do extra. We had no idea. We took them on field trips. We took them everywhere we could in the city to see urban ag. Rooftop gardens, larger urban gardens, and what we would get every butterfly garden. We took them everywhere. Any nature, anything was growing. And what we would get was not, oh, I'm bored, what is this? But usually it was like, we got to take this up to the next level, Miss V. You know, after, you know, they give your name, Miss V, you know, got to take it next year, we're going to do this. Next year, we're going to plant early. And I'm thinking, we don't know if there's going to be a next year, because this was a one-time funding grant, and they don't know the trouble that we went through to make it happen. But what has happened now in those congregations is that there's 4 gardens that are now sleeping in the winter, that the parishioners in the community have to look at and decide if they're going to bring back to life year after year. And I want to think that those young people had something to do with that. You know, I had shared, we had cookbooks. That was one of the program visions that I had, is that the kids would not only do a garden, but they would test food in the test kitchens of the church, because churches, if they don't have anything else, they have kitchens. They would test the food, they would prepare food, and then they would vote on recipes that they would put in the cookbook. And so I brought some of the cookbooks, and Paula's just going to pass them around so you can, you know, look at them. The kids also have their comments and their stories in them. And I want to read to you our executive director, Reverend Dr. Claire Butterfield, and she hates that long title, but you know, I'm from the black church, so if you earn those, you better say them all. Reverend Dr., Mrs., all that, okay? First lady, we do it all. So, Reverend Dr. Claire Butterfield wrote this, it's her note about in the cookbook. A seed is a little package of information. There is no plan inside of the seed, only a pattern by which soil, water, and sunshine can become a plant. So much is contained there that we can and cannot see. The same is true for the young people who participated in the Summer Youth Gardening Program. They contained all kinds of possibilities, some of which began to emerge as they were called on to work hard physically, to be prompt and serious about their efforts, to understand the language of plants, to grow food, and to think about their futures. We had the privilege of seeing them blossom this summer, a little bit while under our care in our program, and as supervisors and congregations. We know they will keep blossoming as their lives unfold, as they return to school, head off to college. These are a group of young people to make us hopeful about the future. They nourished us. Their recipes will do the same. And so when we were writing about them, I began to think about never underestimating the power and possibilities when you decide to put your faith into action, and when you decide to reach out to those who otherwise would never be a part of the equation. Many of the youth and adults who participate in our program